Hi, Terry here. Welcome to another video. I'll tell you what, that 100 grains of triple F. Thank you. Thank you very much. I needed that. Yeah. Nobody would know you're up there. 100 grains of triple F in that 54 caliber Great Plains rifle has got some pretty good kick to it. And you might have noticed that I've changed clothes suddenly. Actually, that intro was filmed a couple of days ago. You can't see it in the video, but it started raining while I was filming that. Not much at first. That's why you can't see it. It's just a few drops, no big deal. But it just started coming down and harder and harder. And I very quickly had to just pack it up and go inside, wait for it to stop. Only it didn't stop. Just kept right on raining. And while it was raining, the temperature started dropping and dropping and dropping. Over the last couple of days, I think the temperature might have gone down somewhere around 400 degrees, maybe 500. I think it's actually just a little above absolute zero right now. In fact, I can kind of feel the air freezing in my lungs at this very moment. But that's not the big deal. That's not the serious problem. That's not the problem. I think, I'm not sure, but I think I might have seen a snowflake earlier this morning. Nothing to panic about. Not sure. There's only one, kind of, sort of. But yeah, snowflake. But don't worry, we'll be okay. The wife is out stocking up on eggs, milk, and bread. So, we'll be fine. So, you're probably wondering, where are parts 3 and 4 in my series of testing my Terry's own homemade black powder for use as a propellant in antique muzzleloaders. Yeah, that actually was supposed to be the video that I'm filming now, or presenting now. Got it filmed and ended up with a few technical difficulties. Basically lost all of it, the entire video. Problem is, I've already shot up a couple of racks of pork ribs, some pork chops, some oranges, and wife says, hey, you shot them, you eat them. So, and of course, Thanksgiving was yesterday. The turkey, the chicken, the stuffing, the cranberry sauce, a whole 9 yards on that. So I got a couple of racks of pork ribs I got to eat before I can get back to part 3. The technical difficulties I'll tell you about in that video. I don't want to bore you with this one because this is a different subject, but it's in work. Let's let it go at that. It's coming up. So in the meantime, I thought I might have a go at taking on another black powder muzzleloader myth versus reality video. So the myth is that when reloading any muzzleloader, but generally when we say muzzleloader, we mean musket or rifle, from the 17 early 1800s. It's incredibly dangerous to try and reload by pouring powder down the barrel directly from the powder horn. Now the reason is there could be a leftover live ember down in the barrel from the previous shot, and if there is, that powder, as you're pouring it down, will flash up the barrel into the powder horn, and you've effectively created a hand grenade and will promptly blow yourself up. The only safe way to pour powder down a muzzleloader is by using either a powder measure, and this is a calibrated powder measure made from bamboo, made it myself, calibrated to 100 grains of triple F GoX. Or if you want to go really into the reenacting, you can use a paper cartridge, which I don't use paper cartridges, so this is a dummy that I made up, no powder, so it's perfectly safe for this video, also empty. Okay, this is a tough one, so I'm going to go careful on this one. But There's one glaring problem I have with this myth as I've just repeated it. I don't know if you see it or not. I'll bring that back up. But yeah, it doesn't disprove the myth. It's just a glaring problem with how it's being presented. So if you got an appointment and you don't really have the time or the inclination to want to watch a boring 20-25 minute video, which I'll try and keep this one less than that, but you know, I'm well over my time limit already just on that introduction. The short version is there might be some truth to this myth. I'm not sure yet. There's one very important point, one question that needs to be answered, which based upon my research, I have been unable to find a suitable answer for. And it's that answer is going to determine whether there's any truth or not in this myth. So I'm going to say, based on what I know, it's possible, but unconfirmed. Okay, that's the short answer. Now, you want the long version. Just what is the really the point of this myth? Okay, well, we've got our muzzle loader musket, we fired it, now we're going to reload it. Now the danger is, according to this myth, that there might be a live ember down in that barrel left over from the previous shot. And if there is, and I start pouring powder down this, like I just said, yada, 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 it'll blow up. Oh, but these are perfectly safe. Are you starting to see the problem here? Okay, here's the thing. The danger or the unsafe condition is the potential existence of an ember down in the barrel. Now, if there is an ember down in that barrel, then how we pour powder down the barrel makes no difference. It doesn't matter if it's coming from this measure or paper cartridge. Any one of these three has the same chance of igniting that powder and causing a flash up. Doesn't matter. This doesn't make it unsafe, and these don't magically put that ember out if it's there and make it safe. It's equally unsafe as far as triggering a flash up goes. The difference is in the severity of potential personal injury. This holds a lot more powder. If it flashes back up the barrel and into this, I have a much greater chance of being more severely injured than with either one of these. But the risk of the flash up is exactly the same. So no, these are not safe if this is unsafe. They're either all safe or they're all unsafe. A machine that can take your finger off is no more safe than a machine that can take your hand off. Okay, they're both just as unsafe. It's simply a matter of severity of personal injury that each machine can inflict on you. Cat. Never hire a cat to be your camera operator for obvious reasons. So, this entire myth hinges on the existence or lack thereof of a live ember in the barrel. Okay, so why do people even think there could be an ember down in the barrel? I mean, what's up with that, right? Well, black powder is a very inefficient propellant, and when you shoot a black powder musket or a rifle especially, it has a lot more powder in it than say a pistol does, you can see some sparks fly out of it on occasion. They don't last more than a second or two, maybe if even two, but you can see a few sparks fly out occasionally. And common sense says, if there could be a spark floating around out there in the air, there could be a spark or an ember left over down in the barrel. But could there? The environmental conditions down inside that barrel, especially after just having been fired, are a lot different than floating around in the open air. So first we need to look at the possibility of can an ember even exist in the barrel of a muzzle loading firearm? And if so, what is the probability of one actually happening? Well, I think the first thing we got to ask is, what is an ember? I mean, everybody says ember, ember, spark, spark, ember. Well, what is an ember? Wikipedia. An ember is a hot lump of smoldering solid fuel, typically glowing, composed of greatly heated wood, coal, or other carbon-based material. Embers, parentheses, hot coals, can exist within, remain after, or sometimes precede a fire. So an ember is a hot coal left over from or preceding an actual fire. Now, another way to think of that is lump charcoal in your barbecue grill. All right, once it's completely like hot, it's got that white outer coating, and you blow on it, and it's really bright red all the way through. That's an ember. So something I've noticed when I'm barbecuing with lump charcoal is that they come in different sizes. They're not like the briquettes that are all exactly the same size. You get some big lumps, you get some little pieces, right? And what I've noticed is the little pieces tend to burn up faster than the big ones because, after all, they're burning fuel. There's fuel in that lump. And it just stands to reason that the smaller lumps are going to burn up faster than the bigger ones. So if we start with a big lump and we start working our way down, it burns up quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. And the question is, do we, and where, if we do, reach a point where that lump is too small to sustain an ember for even, say, a second or two, and it just burns the fuel up and goes out? I don't know. That's one of the questions that we need to answer, and that's really the main question, because here's the thing. When you shoot muzzleloader, now we're going to reload. How long does it take from pulling the trigger, bang, fuel's all burnt, we got over the recoil, now I'm going to reload? Well, take it 1, 2, 3, take my powder horn, five, and bang. 5 seconds? Now, if I'm pouring into a measure, it's going to take longer because I got to pour into the measure, then down the barrel. 10 seconds? If I'm using a paper cartridge, not quite as long because I got to bite the end off. All right, pour some in the flash pan, close the frizzen, then pour down the barrel. So I can reload faster just pouring directly from the horn. 4, 5 seconds, let's say. But let's say 3 seconds, just to keep to make the argument fair. Let's say 3 seconds. Okay, what size does a particle or a lump need to be in either volume or density in order to sustain a live ember for 3 seconds before burning out? Don't know, haven't been able to find out. The next thing we need to know is there even anything in that barrel that can burn as an ember? Can the soot, the residue that's left over, even burn? My immediate inclination is to say no, because, you think about it, black powder burns pretty hot, right? So if there's any soot left in there after the first shot, and then I fire the second shot, well, shouldn't that second shot burn up the fuel left over from the previous shot? And yet it doesn't. In fact, the residue, the fouling builds up from shot to shot. It gets worse, which kind of indicates to me that it's not burning, which indicates to me that it can't burn. I haven't scraped a lot of it out, built it up, compressed it into a little briquette, and tried lighting it. But you get my point. We're talking about down in the inside of that barrel as that soot builds up. Can it even burn? Well, what's that stuff composed of? Well, it's mostly carbon, charcoal, leftover fuel, because black powder is an inefficient propellant. Also, a tiny amount of sulfur, maybe. It does have some sulfury smell. And some potassium oxide, which is left over from the potassium nitrate. Now, the potassium oxide is corrosive. It also combines with water, humidity in the air, to form potassium hydroxide, which is actually what causes the rust in a black powder firearm. It's not sulfur. It's actually potassium hydroxide. Both of these chemicals are corrosive, and potassium oxide at first doesn't burn by itself, but it can ignite other combustible fuels like charcoal, wood, paper, things like that. So there's potentially an ignition source in the barrel, but can the carbon burn? Well, okay, when I'm running a swab down the barrel of my rifle, pull it out, I've never seen any charcoal briquettes. Yeah, I know I'm being sarcastic, but I've never seen any lumps, particles, hard, gritty stuff in the cloth. And I've never pulled one out and seen it smoldering, where an ember was down in there and caught it on fire, even paper. I just never seen that. Again, that's another question we need to answer, though. Can an ember even exist inside that barrel? From what I've been able to find, I don't know. That kind of sort of covers the possibility. There's a couple of I don't knows in there. So, in the interest of fairness, I'm going to say until those questions are answered, yes, it could be possible. There's nothing in the laws of physics that I know that could prohibit or preclude the formation or existence of an ember in the barrel. Um, there's some mutually exclusive arguments or conditions there. Maybe yes, maybe no. So just to be fair and be safe, let's go with the maybe yes for now. So potentially, till we find otherwise, an ember could maybe exist in the barrel of a muzzleloader. So let's look at the probability. What are the odds that it's ever likely to happen, or has it ever happened? If it has, how many times has it happened? How often does it happen? And there's a way to find out. And yes, I know I could have just jumped ahead to this point and made this video a lot shorter. This is for the nerds out there who kind of like to know how I think, if any of you ever interested in how I think or how another nerds think. If I'm pouring powder down a muzzle loader with a measure, and let's just say that I'm holding the barrel here and I'm pouring down. Now, if there's a flash up, look where my fingers are holding this measure. Yeah, out of the way. The barrel's coming up through here, I'm holding it and pouring down, and my fingers are out of the way. So if there was a flash up, it's highly unlikely that I would be personally injured unless I'm pouring, like this. But yeah, it's very highly unlikely that an injury would occur. But if I'm pouring from a paper cartridge, here, get this in my pocket, pouring paper cartridge, and I got to push that down there, and look where my fingers are. Look where my hand is, right over the muzzle of that barrel. So if there's a flash up pouring powder down the barrel from a paper cartridge, which we've already decided the odds of a flash up are the same regardless of whether I'm pouring from this, a powder horn, or a measure, it's quite likely that I'm going to receive some third-degree burns on my fingers, because black powder burns pretty hot. And this is just paper. So it's likely it's just going to whoosh in, right? Okay, so let's look at reenactment, battle reenactments. There are reenactors all over the world. Let's limit it to the United States. The Battle of Bunker Hill, the Battle of Bunker Hill. Let's just leave it at that as an example. Well, every year that battle is reenacted. That people like to dress up in their uniforms, make it as historically accurate as possible. And they reload using paper cartridges because that's how military reloaded them. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people watching these things. And we are in the age of video. I'm filming this with my phone right now. And everybody's walking around videotaping tourists, local news people, videotaping these events. And they occur all over the Eastern Seaboard, especially when we get back into the American Revolution period. So, is there any video of some guy standing there in his red coat or his blue coat, demonstrating for the viewers, and then for the paper cartridge, and we bite the end off and we pour some powder in the flash pan, close the frizzen, and then we pour the rest of the powder down the barrel, and whoosh, oh, my fingers, oh, I burnt my fingers. Can't find it. Can't find any news broadcasts. Civil War reenactor burnt 3 of his fingers and had to go to the hospital today demonstrating how to reload a muzzleloader. Can't find it. Can't find any verifiable written accounts prior to the modern age of that ever happening. And another thing is, it happens, if it ever does happen, so rarely that people today who shoot muzzleloaders are perfectly happy with just pouring the powder down. They just pour it down. They just pour it down. Not even a little bit concerned. Not even, oh, it could flash up. Oh, it could flash up on me. Not even the slightest bit concerned. Why? Well, maybe because it's never happened. And if it has ever happened, maybe it's happened once, in like 600 years of the use of black powder. Never hire a cat to be your camera operator. So, if anybody has that video of somebody getting a flash up, even if it's harmless, just whoosh, oh, it flashed up on me, or burning themselves, yeah, or blowing themselves up with a powder horn, I'd love to see it, because that would definitely confirm the myth. But I can't find any anywhere. Now, we want to be careful on this point. That's where I said I'm going to be careful with this one, because this is one of those cases where absence of evidence is not by itself evidence of absence. It's possible that it could have happened. Maybe somebody pouring from a powder horn measure, pouring down, it flashed up. Oh, and they were just by themselves out in the forest. They're not filming. I know I don't go around filming everything I do. So maybe it did happen. Maybe at a rendezvous one time it did happen. Nobody got hurt. Nobody had a camera out, maybe back in the pre-camera days, or it just turns out nobody had a camera pointed on that person at the time and flashed up. And there's no verifiable record of it ever having happened. Well, it's possible. I mean, it could have happened. So not having any video of it happening doesn't necessarily bust the myth, but it don't help it any. Let me put it that way. So, conclusion, myth, possible, but so far, unconfirmed. But don't fool yourself into thinking that you're safe because you're pouring powder down the barrel of your muzzleloader with a measure, or especially a paper cartridge. You might not get injured using a measure. You probably would get injured using a paper cartridge if it actually happened. So you're not safe. So the odds of a flash up, exactly the same, whether you're using a powder horn or a paper cartridge or a measure. Can't go. Damn it, go. Psst, psst. I appreciate your interest in everything I'm doing, but come on, go. Bless his heart and his liver. He just wants to be in on the fun. No, that's all right. Roll in the driveway. There you go. Yeah. Oh, and another thing. If you're shooting a revolver, say an 1860 Army, and you're loading with paper cartridges because that's how they did then, remember, you're pouring powder down the chamber 6 times, 6 times on that revolver. You're pouring 30, 40 grains of powder down that chamber from a paper cartridge with your bare fingers right over the chamber. And an ember is an ember, right? I mean, does it matter if it's a 54 caliber muzzleloader or Blaine's rifle or a 44 caliber revolver? Happy shooting. So, thanks for watching. I hope any of this made any sense. And I'm going to go cook up some pork ribs and eat some leftover turkey. Yeah, next week I'm going on a diet for sure and for certain. And I don't know, clouds are starting to form up again. That could have been a snowflake I saw earlier. I better split some firewood and get inside. Yeah, I know. Here, come here. Here's the culprit. My camera operator. Yeah, he loves what I'm doing. Okay. The Marquis Chorney. Bye now.